resignation of Pete Hegseth.
No, I will not demand their resignation.
My question is actually related to all of the immigrants that are being rounded up and deported. Are they entitled to due process?
A lot of these people, what President Trump did it last time, what he tried, if you seek asylum, wait in the other country, not get it here in the country. So there is no due process if you come illegally unless you violated the law. Period. You violated the law. It is violating the law. And that's why we need to make sure we take this under control.
Welcome back to Inside the Delegates. How you guys doing? And thank you. That was Republican Congresswoman from Indiana, Victoria Spartz. She went to the town hall and she got booed. She got booed because she was not giving the response. She was not giving it and she got booed. She went on CNN to defend her comment. She went on CNN to actually say those constituents that y'all looking at, they ain't our constituent. Majority of them, they are not a constituent. Let me take you to CNN. Let's listen to what she got to say.
Congresswoman, at the center of those town hall discussions, Republican Representative Victoria Spartz of Indiana. Congresswoman, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Frederica.
All right, so people in the audience in the Westfield Town Hall were quite upset, challenging you, among other things, on whether Defense Secretary Hegseth should be fired or removed. You said no to that. So what are among the other things that you told voters that you are considering as it pertains to DOJ activity, including firings and department dismantling?
Well, unfortunately, Frederica, these town halls, which should be part of the process for us to communicate with our constituents and have dialogue, became really an organized ambush by Democrats and a lot of radical groups to push a false narrative that Republicans are doing something wrong. And that sprayed lies. So I thought, regardless what really a lot of my colleagues understand, is becoming a safety situation because we have a very violent group of creating chaos, which really puts safety of our staff and other constituents, police at stake, decided not to do it. I thought we still need to do it because we shouldn't be silenced and we need to talk about the issues that are important for the American people because we try to legislate a lot of good issues and that will benefit Americans. So we did that, but unfortunately the action was very violent. And I'll tell you about the questions relating to Pete Hegseth. It's kind of hypocritical that, that a lot of people are so fighting for the same due process for people here illegally, which realistically we can do only in a limited way. They don't feel that actually people like Pete Hegseth should have a due process before we're going to do any, demand resignations and take them out of their position that they were appointed to. If some innocent mistakes happen, we always have improvement, but I think they're entitled for more due process, not a mob rule, than illegals in our country that violated law and working with cartels and create dangers in the country.
So
but
are you disputing?
The other side doesn't want to have dialogues.
So are you disputing that a number of the people that are showing up at your town halls are legitimate constituents? I mean, I would think that, you're in your third term. You probably recognize a lot of your voters at many of these town halls. And do you feel that that was representative of your district and the sentiments that people were conveying to you?
No, I'm actually a lot in my district, had a lot of meetings beyond town halls. This is organized by Democrats. They did a lot of social media posts. A lot of them were standing in very radical groups in my district was standing all day to make sure that they can get in first because we even expanded capacity for the first town hall. It still was, normally we don't have so many people because ultimately that's agenda, organized group of people. So they wanted to make sure they get in little professional protesters, agitators, they do it in other places, that they get in first, that they can flood the room, that a lot of legitimate constituents couldn't even come. So some of them, a lot of them probably are constituents. We have a very diverse district, but they represent extreme left not represent really the Indiana 5th district, because majority of people in my district don't want violence. They don't want to spit on my stuff and scream for 2 hours, and they want to have a conversation. That's not a majority of Americans, and truly, I don't think majority of Americans want violence.
Well, it didn't look like from a lot of the videotape I saw that there was violence, but people certainly were very emotional. And of some of the comments I was able to hear, there were a lot of sentiments about Elon Musk, who were challenging the powers of Elon Musk. And they want to hear from you. And I wonder what you've been telling people who are asking you and other members of Congress when they say they didn't elect Elon Musk, they are concerned that he has overstepped his bounds. And even some judges have said that he has overstepped his bounds in some of the firings. What do you say to people who have showed up at your town hall who are doing that? What are you saying to them? Do you think Musk has gone too far?
No, actually, Musk has been very helpful for us to bring more transparency in order to better the government, that the Congress can look and decide what actions we need to put into the law in our appropriation reconciliation. Because as an auditor, as someone who has been talking now for years, and actually not just me, Government Accountability Office was talking how terrible and broken government. We don't have simple controls. We don't know where the money are going. Departments are not auditable. We have a lot of fraud and we do nothing about it. No one is doing anything. At least he brings more transparency where American people can see now. So we make sure that we get rid of fraud and save these programs that benefits for the people that belong these programs to, that we have enough money and we're going bankrupt. And I just add to your other point, actually my Muncie town hall was much more brutal in the way that they were much more organized, protested, and were actually very brutal to my staff and some of the Trump supporters. And it was it was very serious and very concerning for the police.
So, Congresswoman, what are the actions? You said, it's about the actions of the members of Congress. Members of Congress, helped craft law, legislation. You have the purse strings. What are the conversations among members of Congress about how you are going to either keep in check the president or Elon Musk and Doge when it's Congress who should control the purse strings, and when you have the president who says he wants to dismantle the Department of Education or restrict funding to the Smithsonian, which is congressionally approved. What is the plan of action among members of Congress, regardless of party?
Well, I think, unfortunately, just go to your point, 85% of spending, Congress doesn't even look at it for decades now. So until we reform our processes, which really hard to do on a partisan basis, it needs to be a bipartisan agreement, which very difficult to reach any bipartisanship. Unfortunately, we tried for a few years, the Fiscal Commission, and couldn't get through it. And even though introduced it in both chambers and only very few people in Congress want to govern, that's a problem. But now it's a lot of grandstanding for Democrats, so I don't see it very realistic, but we'll still try to do it, so then a lot of ways reconciliation is becoming the only place for us. We at least can look at some terrible waste, fraud, and abuse in some of these programs like Medicare and Medicaid. The Democrats and Nancy Pelosi used to be all for it, where Vice President Biden was saying it's a Ponzi schemes. We need to do something. We need to save these programs. And suddenly when Republicans are doing, there is no fraud. We're going to be protecting fraud. So there are some things we can do. There are some things need to be bipartisan. We'll have to deal with it. But hopefully we can come to more common sense, because country is in trouble fiscally, and we need to govern. And I hope more people will come and listen to the Republic, and hopefully we will not be intimidated and silenced, and talk about good policy we want to do for all Americans. Because good economy, good jobs, dealing with fraud, saving these programs, have a future for our children, that should be common sense we should agree on.
Do y'all notice the GOP new argument right now? Anytime they're being confronted by their constituents, when they go to the town halls and their constituents are voicing out their concerns because they are losing their jobs, they've been fired by Doge, or their people are being deported without due process, then the GOP run to the media and says those are not their constituents. I don't believe that argument is going to fly for long, but I would love to hear from you. What do you think about that? And inside that town hall, one whole day, constituent asked a question about the signal. Y'all remember last week when a journalist was mistakenly added to a conversation that ain't supposed to be added to? Yeah, that constituent said, what is Victoria's stand on that? She said, hold up, we have to have a due process. And the social media are going crazy. That due process? What happened to due process by Doge that are firing the federal employees without no due process? Due process? What happened to those that were deported by this administration without no due process? So what? GOPs cannot have it both ways when it comes to that word, due process. Because if you are talking of due process, y'all have to, make sure it is indeed due process both ways. Now people are so angry that she came out and to say they have to wait for due process, whereas Doge is not giving the federal workers due process and many more. You know what I mean? But personally, I think both Republicans and Democrats, they can work together if they want to for the benefit of the people that voted them in. What do you guys think? Let's continue the conversation down there in the comment section as usual. Please just respect yourselves while we comment. If you haven't joined the growing community, please do not forget to do so. It is free. Thank you for doing that, and bye for now.